The Tsuyama 30-person murder case 1938. Ko Village, the stage of tragedy. The early hours of May 21, 1938 Showa 13. In the midst of the Sino-Japanese War, an unprecedented tragedy in Japanese criminal history unfolded in a quiet mountain village in the Chugoku Mountains, north of Tsuyama City, Okayama Prefecture. The setting was Ko Village, Nishikamo in Okayama Prefecture. In this tranquil settlement of just 23 households and a population of 111, along with the neighboring Sakamoto village, a single young man committed the unheard-of act of killing 30 villagers in just an hour and a half. This region was often isolated by snow in winter. Many of the men worked outside the village as seasonal laborers or charcoal burners, leaving the village largely populated by the elderly, women, and children. Furthermore, traditional customs involving complex relationships and social dynamics were deeply rooted in the mountain villages of the time. The young man who committed the crime was Matsuo Toi, age 22 by Japanese counting, 21 years old, an agricultural worker residing in Ko Village. Toi had lost both parents at a young age and lived with his grandmother. The background to the crime and the cultivation of hatred. Matsuo Toi was driven to his atrocious acts by his own illness and the subsequent discrimination and scorn he faced from the villagers. Toi had long suffered from pulmonary tuberculosis. At the time, tuberculosis was feared as a death sentence, and because of his illness, Toi began to be shunned in village relationships, particularly by women. Toi had confided in a close friend, "Since I'm going to die of consumption anyway, I'm going to cause an incident big enough to shock the world." This statement alluded to a sensational crime that had occurred 2 years prior, suggesting a mix of his abnormal need for recognition and desperate despair in the face of death. Toi held the fiercest hatred and homicidal intent toward 2 women he had previously been intimate with but who had married other men after learning of his illness. In the small mountain village, rumors spread quickly, and it is presumed that all the gossip reached Toi's ears. Toi investigated the date when these 2 women would be visiting their families and decided that would be the day of his crime. Meticulous preparation and a planned assault. On the evening of May 20th, the day before the crime, around 4 p.m., Toi rode his bicycle back and forth repeatedly on the paths leading to the houses he planned to attack, conducting a thorough reconnaissance. Around 5 p.m., Toi climbed a utility pole carrying the village's power lines and cut the wires. This plunged the entire village into complete darkness. Without giving the villagers time to call the power company for repairs, Toi was prepared to act under the cover of night. On the day of the crime, May 21st, around 1 a.m., Toi armed himself. He wore a black student uniform with gaiters and jikatabi split-toe shoes. He attached 2 small flashlights, rare for the time, to a towel wrapped around his head and suspended a bicycle lamp on his chest. This was to illuminate his targets accurately in the dark. He was armed with edged weapons, including a Japanese sword and a dagger ikuchi, as well as a modified hunting rifle. His pockets and bag held as many as 100 live rounds of ammunition. This bizarre armament, featuring head-mounted illumination, is thought to have been inspired by customs of night fishing in rivers and illustrations of Japanese soldiers in a magazine he frequently read. The beginning of the atrocity and the expanding rampage. Around 1 a.m., Toi first took the life of his grandmother, who was sleeping at their home. He then quietly left the house. His first target was the home of Katsuyuki Kishimoto, his north side neighbor. Toi had been intimate with the mother, a widow, but she had recently rejected him and spread rumors about him in the village, causing him to harbor intense resentment. Wary of the sound of a gunshot, Toi first used his Japanese sword to end the lives of the mother and her 2 younger brothers sleeping nearby. Next, he went to the Nishida home. He killed instantly with his hunting rifle the wife who, despite having had a relationship with him, had rejected him and spread rumors. In the adjacent room, Toi shot and killed 3 relatives, including one who was visiting, as they sprang up upon hearing the gunshot. The return of one of the women Toi resented was one of his stated reasons for the crime that day. At the next Kishimoto house, he shot and killed the couple. When a nephew lunged at him, Toi knocked him down and shot him in the chest, ending his life. A surviving elderly woman from this house testified that Toi told her, "I originally held no grudge against you, but since you took Nishida's daughter as your wife, I had no choice but to kill you." This statement indicated that Toi's actions were driven by clear emotional motives: betrayal, rejection, and revenge. Fugitives and the expansion of targets. Toi's rampage continued at the fifth house, the Terakawa residence. Although the family was awake due to the repeated gunshots, the door was not locked, allowing Toi to enter and kill 5 people: the owner, his eldest son, 2 daughters, and his common-law wife. At this time, one of the women Toi most resented, Ms. Yuriko, quickly escaped through the back door and fled to a nearby house. Ms. Yuriko had been forced to divorce due to her relationship with Toi and had since remarried in another village. Having returned home 3 days prior, she was a primary target. Pursuing Ms. Yuriko, Toi proceeded to the 6th Terakawa house. This house, which was not originally part of his planned attack, was tragically caught in the crossfire. Toi shot and killed the landlord's father with his hunting rifle, then indiscriminately fired shots at the house with the doors closed. By this time, villagers were starting to realize something was wrong from the gunshots and screams, and chaos began to spread. Toi then headed to the Terakawa house on higher ground, followed by another Terakawa house to the south. At the Terakawa house, he targeted 2 women who had previously rejected his advances, killing them while they slept in the silkworm raising room. He also killed another woman who pleaded for her life. However, Toi told the homeowner, the elderly Mr. Terakawa, "I won't kill you because you never spoke ill of me." This shows that Toi's crime was not indiscriminate, his targets of hatred and resentment were clearly defined. 30 victims and the perpetrator's final moments. Toi's assault continued. At the 10th house, the Okayama residence, he targeted the brother of a woman who had been intimate with him but then betrayed him, taking the lives of the brother's wife and family members. He then moved toward the wealthiest house in the village, the main Terakawa residence. This house was on high ground, and the cries of "Help! It's a murderer!" shouted out the window are said to have reached every villager. Toi gave up the assault and headed to his final target. The 12th and final house was the Okabe residence in the neighboring Sakamoto village. Targeting the wife who had previously had a relationship with Toi but who, along with her husband, began to treat him coldly, he killed the couple. Thus ended the tragic rampage, which lasted approximately an hour and a half. The casualties amounted to 33 people in total, 30 dead, 28 instantly, 2 succumbed to serious injuries later, 1 seriously wounded, and 2 lightly wounded. Around 3 a.m., having completed his atrocities, Toi appeared at the Takeda residence in Terui village. Toi told Takeda's grandson, "Even I will not shoot innocent people. Don't worry," and asked for paper and a pencil. He intended to tear off a piece of paper and write a suicide note. Around 5 a.m., Toi's body was discovered atop Mount Senjo, 3.5 kilometers into the mountains from the village. He had carefully arranged all the weapons and lighting he wore next to his body, removing and neatly aligning his jikatabi. He used the hunting rifle to shoot himself in the chest, ending his own life over his black student uniform shirt. Toi's suicide note detailed the motives for his crime, his despair due to illness, and his intense hatred for the villagers. This incident left a massive shock and trauma on Japanese society at the time, exposing the darkness of a mountain village entangled by poverty, disease, and old customs.